Cut the music. What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Well, I thought I'd give it a few days to digest in the audience with these witness statements from the interview from Tint. I found it compelling. It was affirming all kinds of speculation and suspicions that we had out there, but like Monkey Mind, my comment section is bringing up, the question is, was he a witness to anything or not? But at this point, my darling, Daniel isn't out of the woods. Daniel was allegedly responsible for bringing cruelty towards the kids, and the mother was complicit in the act. After listening, Monkey Mind says, after listening to Wade's testimony in this interview, it's not really testimony, it's just in passing, and he says so much. You could break that down, and people probably will, but he says so much in that little interview with Tint. I appreciate it for what it is. I don't need to overanalyze it, but he's being Wade, Cindy's mother. He's right, biased, but none of that really fucking matters at this point when there's so many lies about. Is this guy bringing us his perspective? I think it's honest statements from his part. He was suspicious about Daniel the entire time, and he puts a lot of blame onto Malaya and talks about her history a little and what he knows about it. Certainly interesting. Good to see you, Tony. He's a witness. Shouldn't determine what anybody thinks or why you're forming an opinion around anything, but don't come in here talking about how you don't think Daniel's guilty of anything in this circumstance. You're just a shill for him. It's nonsense. The guy's a piece of shit. All right? They're all lying, and there's no excuse for it. The mystery and the question isn't whether or not Wade was a witness to anything at this point. Maybe in your own mind. Not in my mind. Not in anybody else's fucking mind. Esther, good to see you. Bonjour, darling. Laurie McNutt, is he bringing stuff that Malaya told him? Do we know that that's true or not? I don't know, Laurie. Why don't you go listen? That's like a conversation to be had with a bunch of people that haven't listened to it for themselves, don't know what it's about. You don't need my opinion. Go and listen to it for yourself. It's a person who knows Daniel who's talking about how scummy he is. And the fact that he knows that he cooks, he sells, uses to excess around the children. He knows that there is physical violence in the home, and it only goes along with what it is that he's doing. He controlled Malaya with those rugs, right? That's what you do with rugs. You control people. And that was a form of it there. Sweet tea, good to see you, darling. Queeze. At this point in the timeline, from when the kids went missing, now you want to talk about how you don't think Daniel has anything to do with it? You can get the fuck out of my chat. That's such nonsense. You have to be fucking trolling. Get real. That tells me that you have no fucking idea what it is that you're talking about. All right? All the signs are here, and that's what the topic is. I don't give a fuck who's telling the truth. Everybody's lying. We'll sort it out. But the constant in this case is the inclusion of rugs, physical violence, the markings on the kids. It's not for you to determine whether or not it's actually going on. There's so much here, people would have been reporting it, and they should have been reporting it, and it was a concern. So the questions are if he's telling the truth. You don't know one way or the other, but it shouldn't matter. All of the signs are here, starting with the deception, the lies, the need to lie in that circumstance. Absolutely, he has something to do with them going missing. kinds of people want to share. All kinds of people want to share their opinions. I'm all I'm all about watching other people's content. I like watching Clutch Their Pearls. Or sorry, excuse me. I just call him Justin's channel. Clutch Them Pearls, excuse me. He brings up all kinds of screenshots that people sent him from being in people's chats. There's like this leakage. You could read it. And Daniel talking in the chats trying to correct people. Like the one screenshot that he had when he was talking to Daphne's case files. And he told her to do better research. Like he's putting himself, what a tweaker, dude. He's putting himself in a position to be telling people how accurate they are at any one point in time in the circumstance. Honey, you really need to do better research. And he was correcting her just about little things that are out there. But I thought it was pretty funny to see how engaged that he gets in certain circumstances. This guy. All right, Monkey Mind. Yeah, you did say that. It's up there typed down. I just responded to it. Daniel is the only one talking because he has to. No, there's no death penalty, Mr. Hemi in Canada. Good to see you, by the way. But there's these little things like this one on your screen that makes me laugh. I have to hold back on some evidence because it's held between me and the Special Investigations Unit in that sense. Between the cops and the suspect, absolutely. Absolutely, we know that, Daniel. But these little signals like that, like he thinks that this is... He's walking around in a pool of people who don't know how the law works at any one point in time. But just because you don't know doesn't mean that you put that onto everybody else, but that's okay because it makes him look less suspect because he's ignorant. Well, ignorance isn't an excuse in this circumstance. But this is why I like watching him, and people will dissect what he's saying. But think a look, what is he doing? What the hell are you doing in the first place? You know, he's not the kid's biological... when you go back and you take a look at this in the headlines, they're really making the impression, and they wanted to make it look like Daniel and Janie were part of the kids' lives. In a sense, like they're biological. They're considered family. They're considered anything but by them. They're mistreated by them. That's absolutely true. They even complain about it. These are the things that they volunteer to you, this information they volunteer about the mistreatment about the kids in the household. Janie says it. These are things they indicate in the interviews and the statements that they give the media. These are desperate individuals that know the power of a lie. They're not doing this because they want to. They're doing it because they have to. I appreciated the part. What is his name? Wade? Cindy's boyfriend? What is his name? I can't remember what his name is. That's where we left off. Was it 3 days ago that came out? That's where we left off in our last podcast about this particular subject. No, nobody told you that you have to believe everything 100-fold. Everything that, if you walk around believing everything that everybody fucking says, you're going to be in a really poor situation. But it doesn't make the information that you receive any less valuable to the situation at hand when you try to figure these things out. We already know what the hell's going on. And we know why they're lying. People like this aren't known for telling the truth. You have to expect it. The problem with it is I start to get worried that somebody in the RCMP isn't doing their job. and they've dropped the ball. But we can't say that at all because they hide everything until much, much later. In special inquiries, all of this, the kids get overlooked in this circumstance. Oh, you know that there's good people working this case. There has to be. Not everybody are complete boobs, but all it takes is one. And situations are always different and mistakes are made. But it can't be a mistake like this in this circumstance. These kids have fallen through the cracks up to now. That's what made them disappear. And now, the people that were supposed to be responsible for the well-being of these children, last people to see them, are lying at every step. Trying to convince you that they're innocent far before anybody was ever even accusing them of anything. We're so worried. People out here in TV land are so much more worried about the kids, more so than Janie and Daniel or anybody. And it goes without saying that people are furious about Malaya's silence. We know what she's silent about. You guys believe the 100 bags of dirty diapers, 100 garbage bags of dirty diapers that came out of her and Cody's basement? Yeah, she has substance abuse issues. Absolutely. And guess who was cooking and making, and that's a match made in hell right there. But drugs control the individual. And if you can make the drugs, you're a real slave to that process, I tell you that, Daniel. You're cooking it up, shake and bake, and you're your own best customers. Oh, God bless you, Emery. You called the RCMP a month ago and told them to search all the lakes? You tell them to search the Atlantic Ocean, too. Thanks for your contribution, darling. Tell them to search it twice. I thought that was fantastic. I don't know. You seem to know him, Shelley Fraser. Tint 6625. Where do you see that? He's just some dude who's out there getting boots on the ground in that circumstance. I love it. I love it. He's out there, dude with a drone and all kinds of camera equipment, documenting the areas and speaking to people. No matter what, those conversations and interviews are always interesting. It's not a formal interview, but the guy was sure filled with all kinds of information through his perspective. I loved it. And if what he's saying is true, and I bet it is, he would know. He would know all of the shit on Daniel. Look, they were there trying to move Malaya out in December. I'd say he's involved enough to know what it is that he's talking about. These are things that you don't really have to question. You don't have to, oh, I don't believe this guy or I believe this guy. Take it in passing. It's probably true. He doesn't know. You're asking when or what they were in $34,000 in debt for. Well, the $34,000 came from what Wade doesn't exactly know either. He said probably there's a strong possibility that they were defrauding the government out of their baby bonus, claiming 2 more children than that I was actually living with them in that circumstance. So Daniel's other children were probably living back at home with his ex-wife, and Daniel reported that these kids or filed for benefits, i.e. defrauded the government system. Fuck, if it was that easy, why didn't I? No, I'm just kidding. I should have said I had 10 kids here. No, I wouldn't encourage that. They'll find you. but he expects that's what it probably is. But then there's this discussion about Cindy's mother, who lives on the reserve, the Shubenacadie, or what, I didn't even know how to pronounce it or what it's pronounced, but the one that's just south of them, Shubenacadie or something like that, if I can remember correctly, Shubenacadie or something. Anyway, he's talking about how they've struggled to get her to move on her own as opposed to moving in with her drug dealer. That's what it sounds like. What situation like this? Like she hooked up with her drug dealer in this circumstance, and they're wondering why she's not tending to the kids all the time. Yeah. We can pretty much see what's going on in that circumstance. And he's telling you all of the effects and all of the symptoms over a period of time, like him showing up with all kinds of colored skin, and they were suspicious of drug use in that circumstance. But he's affirming to people that he cooks it, sells it, uses it. Like, that's a bold statement in that circumstance. He led off with that. Now, there's a strong indicator of what happened to those poor children. Now, the question in my mind is how far did it go? Well, there's two children here. So, Wade talks about Daniel losing his temper, but we know what that shit makes you, how crazy and nutty it makes you. So he's under the influence. He's this completely deranged individual. Now, how sinister do you think this goes? What kind of individual brings harm towards a child in that circumstance? So there's all kinds of possibilities that pop up in this environment. Whatever it is, Malaya is silent, apparently, in this circumstance. And she was over at Wade's just a few days ago, meeting last week sometime, and she didn't seem too downtrodden or disappointed or anything like that, which, is probably a sign of two things. She's probably happy to be away, but she has some sobering up to do, I would expect. Why the need to keep all of these secrets? Barbara M., you're talking about the Bay of Fundy. Having the highest tides. What are you suggesting? I don't know. Listen, when you're all tweaked out like that, you'd be surprised how deep of hole an individual can dig when they need to. Tweakers do some crazy, crazy shit. And I think we're in the process of discovering a little bit here. Lay the 25, you're talking... says, Karen, both are a POS, but I think Daniel adopted them legally. No. What are you talking about? He didn't adopt them legally. The hell you guys get all this information from? Daniel's not worried about having a loving, peaceful family in this circumstance. They weren't married. She shacked up with her drug dealer. Those aren't his kids. Yeah, Wade did say a lot. You're saying Wade said, if you recall, you could smell it in the trailer? Well, hey, Anon, good to see you. People disappear when you're in debt and includes drugs. Well, this $34,000 was probably owed to the government. They don't come looking for you in that sense. This isn't like a bookmaker or something like that, a bookie. coming to break your legs. No, I don't think so. According to Wade, it's probably more having to do with government benefits in the circumstance, which could be, couldn't be. But I think the underlying premise is it was probably the oh, do you know what it probably is? Do you know what it probably is? All the COVID benefits. I just thought of that. So if they're $34,000 in debt, all of the COVID benefits, anybody back at during lockdown, if you claim you have all of these children and an extra, it makes you eligible to get this particular payment. So if you're collecting that COVID payment every month and you weren't eligible after the fact, they made you go and pay that back. I wonder if that was part of it. But anyway, it's probably a lot more involved with that, because of if it was claiming to have more children there than you actually did, it would affect all of your other payments as well. Your tax benefits, we'll call it. Rebates. Andy H., was she being pimped out? Yeah, I don't know about that, but I think the $34,000 was probably a point of contention in that household. Because the money is always a source of arguing with your significant other. It's not exactly like they're doing all that successful at the moment. Like he might make and shake and cook and sell and all of that, but it's just to support his own habit. He's not actually making any money in that sense. It's probably to offset his own hardcore usage. So if he's a hardcore user in that sense, the risk factor for being, we'll call S-aid in that environment, in an environment which they're already being mistreated in every other way, well, I would have to think that it crossed that threshold in that circumstance. Yeah, Layla, claiming for 5 children. Yeah, I think that's what he was mentioning. Now, he's not stating that as a fact. That's what he was just attributing it to. We're just putting it together. Like, what else could it be? And combine that. Well, hold on. How long have they been together? It's probably not the COVID benefit, because it might have been too late for that. It depends on how long they've been together. I don't know. We don't know them that well. So... You wonder if Wade is homeless now. Poor guy. What do you keep talking about, Layla? What are you talking about? Are you talking about Wade, Cindy's boyfriend? Why would he be homeless? All right, Anon, I will. You think, yeah, David, maybe he was a gigolo. You would expect business to be a little better than what it was. No, that's only if you think Daniel has something to do with it, Monkey Mind. Or if you think Daniel's as innocent as you mentioned before. Lori McNutt, she moved into the trailer with him when she was pregnant with Meadow. She moved into the trailer with him when she was still pregnant with Meadow. Drippy Thoughts. Drippy Thoughts side. Holy crap, I can't pronounce that. Because he's in the doghouse, so to speak, for talking to to TINT. I don't know why you'd be in the doghouse. Like, why does everybody want to shut up about this? If you know that guy's a fucking tweaker and you've got all of this information, I would expect that the RCMP, he told the RCMP all of this. No, he probably did what Cindy is itching to do. Not itching, but trying to avoid. Just speaking for that side of the family. No, I'm happy he posted that, to be honest. I did see a particular creator that makes me shake my mind. This individual wants to attribute little signs in the case to what their tarot cards were pointing to in the circumstance. Oh my God. I'm like, fuck me. Fucking help me. White Shed Recordings. It would be interesting if it comes out that Daniel is and was a rug dealer when getting together with Malaya. I don't know if that's going to get out before court in that sense. Like, I'd say people on the street around the area already know. It's hard to keep that kind of stuff secret. At some point, you've got to advertise, right? At some point, somebody out there is going to have bought that from you or know you to a level where they can affirm it. Yeah, Wade is a gossiper, but I like that. That's funny stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. He can say whatever he wants. He had all kinds to say. That's what you said about Durwood too, Karen. More people should be screaming it from the mountaintops like Wayne is. I don't even know if he was. He was just talking to the guy, right? Like, the guy was asking him questions and he was just answering like, what do you want? He wasn't out trying to make an appearance on somebody's live stream. The dude just fucking was trying to sell a horse trailer and people are holding it against him. It's because people marry their biases. It's because people have developed such... They start to believe in all of the information they think is true rather than what it could otherwise be true. Like, you should be keeping yourself open for statements like that. It's like buying the dip, y'all. There's a picture of Cody holding baby Meadow. Are you sure, Andy? Why would Cody be holding Meadow? Maybe were they all friends at one time or what? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, KD, I said just what he reported from the get-go. Cindy probably relieved it's out. We're only as sick as our secrets. Oh, yeah, it's better that Wade said that than let, the public speculate. Because people just get fired up and angry towards them. People are less angry now that a little bit more information talks about how much abuse was going on inside that poor trailer in that household. There's no denying it. There's no denying that, sadly. So again, another strong indicator about what ended up happening, the circumstance leading up to the need to lie so hard and be so secretive about all of this information. But you're not. Some information you're so open about, Daniel, and then other information you can't talk about because it might ruin the investigation. They might find the bodies that you buried. Exactly. Look, it looks exactly like it sounds. Daniel, you can't rewrite these things. You can't do exactly. You can't be both roles, suspect and the investigator. Do they let babies go home from the hospital with a mom that tests positive for Canada? You should ask Grok. I don't know. Something would show up in the blood tests, but I doubt it. I'm not the one to ask about that, but somebody will know. Kaylee, he's been in Malaya's life that long, regardless of who raised her. What you're talking about? You're talking about Wade? Yeah, well, if he's with Cindy, Cindy's obviously in constant contact with her daughter, who's been troubled for quite some time, and then she became pregnant again. Okay? She is and probably was a troubled teen. Keep getting herself in these situations with bad dudes. And she's looking worse off than she should or could have by not engaging in the first place. Get yourself together, girl. Oh, yeah. No doubt about it that she married her drug dealer in that circumstance. What do you think she had the need to steal her grandma's credit card for? Rack up that $1,600. And then tell her that he's not paying it back. Oh, dear. Hello, Lori Wooden. You had to pop in and listen for a sec. You can't catch my lives anymore. This Sebastian Rogers case sent you down a rabbit hole. SMH, I need to quit this shit. I find this case sounds like Beach Creek. Yeah, it's the same situation where the last people to see, well, the parents aren't acting right. Same situation. Hopefully the investigation gets going somewhere, but the problem is that they're still walking around. How that can be is fucking beyond me. Oh, you're a Suns fan. I'm a Suns fan. Says, in my opinion, Daniel and Janie have something to do with it. They've been so inconsistent, and she couldn't even hide her distaste for the kids in the news interview. Well, you can see where their priorities are, and it's for self in this sense. But sometimes interviews can be made to look a certain way. It's probably a longer one, but I don't think that was a real problem in this situation. Yeah, you're right. They did look bad. In a situation that is pretty bad. And they're more apt to tell you and want to converse about how innocent that they are rather than what happened to the kids at any one point in time. That's a little suspect. That's a lot suspect. The people should protest, in your opinion? Well, they'd protest the RCMP. But it is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Seems ridiculous. But there might be a reason for it, and there probably is. Probably one that we wouldn't agree with. Well, I think Meadow's probably going on 17 months soon. 15, 16, 17, yeah. About 17 months, almost 18 months old. She looks tiny for her age. You think so? I don't know why he's even sharing those photos. To make himself look like just a caring father, fantastic person. These are PR photos he's sending out with his baby daughter. Oh, look at how great I am. He's kissing babies. Nonsense. Yeah, Layla, that's probably could be an issue in this circumstance. I don't know. They'll have reasons for it. It seems a little bit bizarre that, well, She looked better in more recent photos. Looks like she's putting on some weight. I don't know. We're talking about Malaya Drippy? I don't know about that girl. She's looking rough. Oh, I protest at the RCMP. I don't know. I don't know, Mama Angel. CPS is not part of them. Go to government officials near you. Yeah, it's better probably to know what the hell's going on first before you start your protest. What would your signs say? Arrest this tweaker. You can't fathom how stressed out the kids are in that environment. D&M should be sterilized. Oh my God. You're talking about Nazi level stuff. Well, unfortunately, this is part of the fun of living in a free society in this sense. You're free to lie. You're free to do whatever you want. I think that that's a case in this circumstance. They did whatever the hell they want to these kids because they were a burden to them. You know, they started to resent the fact that they had to go and, you know, look after these children who they don't believe they needed to. These were something that they indicated that these are Malaya's responsibility, and she's slipping. So it's always Daniel having to look after the kids and teach them the ways in that sense. I don't think that he's a capable parent at that point in time, especially under the influence. It's the last thing that he's interested in. He's more interested in have something to control in that environment. That's probably what he was doing. Lori's saying they're protesting the fact that CPS did not remove the kids when they seen the state of the trailer and the living conditions. Yeah, you know what, Lori? I mean, what's it going to take? Especially when it gets this far. I can see why people are upset. Already. Is RCMP investigating some more today in relation to the kids? I don't know, Radmilla. What did you hear? What did you see, Tommy? Locked and loaded, filling potholes in the driveway pool, being put on driveway and rock. Daniel scheduled to work that Friday. Janie telling Jack, good boy, when finding... I don't know what that is. Could they have been backed over? Well, there'd be... Really, if they were backed over, locked and loaded, there would be no need to fucking lie and deceive and have a cover-up. Right? There'd be a need to call 911. You think that some Hollywood fucking situation happened where there was an accident and they got so scared that they covered it up? No, people don't act like that. You tend to save people's lives. You have to call 911 and get an ambulance there pronto. And kids are... so, kids are sadly tend to get over injuries in circumstances like that. I don't think so. Mama Angie, once the kids didn't bring in an income anymore through government assistance, they went missing. So you're saying that once the... No. I think you're misunderstanding that. They're getting benefits. There just would have been a correction to the benefits. They're getting more money per month adjusted for 5 children allegedly as opposed to the 3 that they had in the household. Actually losing all the kids from that household would take away all of the benefits because there's nobody in the house to collect the benefits. Daniel wasn't collecting any benefits to begin with because he's not a father. He's got no custody over anybody. He's got, especially Meadow in that sense. The only thing that ties them to this whole scenario is Meadow. So there's never any kids there that disappeared and no longer bring him in money. It was just his own lies. If that is indeed true. And I'm not sure if it is. But it could be. Laurie McNutt, they've closed it off the area at Chance Harbor, but they didn't say it had anything to do with the case. Yeah, you're probably not going to know. You know, they're not going to update you as to what they're thinking in this circumstance at any point. They might update you to the bullshit narrative that's going on that the kids ran into the bush. The cover story. Lori Green, he questioned the family. They knew all this was going on. You can only do so much. I mean, what is it you expect them to do? Go in and kidnap the kids out of their custody? Commit a crime? You know, it sounds like they did all that they could. They went above and beyond with trying to give Malaya her own home, you know, on the reservation, setting her up and she not wanting it, wanting to stay with her drug dealer instead. Because of the proximity to the things that she was addicted to, no doubt. The enabler in the relationship. The entire time she needed to be getting her head straight. Learning how to be a good mom. But she was more concerned and consumed with getting her fix and sexual things that the kids fell by the wayside. So I mean, they almost did it. In hindsight's 2020 in this circumstance now, but they almost had her out in December. So it's had to have been an ongoing issue, like the drug situation. And I think that Daniel and Janie are probably fairly violent individuals, and everybody in that environment knows it. And the fact that they are suspicious of them physically harming and killing these kids and are willing to do whatever it takes to lie, deceive people in real time, that it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to think that they would bring harm to your family in that sense too, especially at this point in time. It's a little overly sensitive. So here we have child killers walking around free on the streets at this point in time. That's what I hold against the RCMP. What? I'm just some dude. And I mean, I'm just speculating like crazy. You know, it's all fine to armchair quarterback something, but for the people that have to do the legwork, it's not quite that easy. They have to go by protocol. They have to stick to the rules, which means time. And when you add lies, you have to prove the lies untrue, and that takes up extra time. However, once you recognize that somebody's fucking lying like that, it's hard not to ask the question why they're not arrested for obstruction at this point in time. Because you have to know what happened 100% before you can say 100% that they're lying. Until that point, it's just suspicion. Are you looking for a snack there, girlfriend? Come here. Bring that here. Let me see you. Where's my keys? Okay, hold on. It's snack time, friends. Just a moment, please. Oh yeah, acid jazz flute. I've got this pulled up on my screen. I took a couple screenshots while I was over there watching Justin. Whoops. Uh-oh. I'm frozen up just a second. Why doesn't that want to move? Well, that's why, probably. I gotta figure out why this isn't moving. Probably have to reopen that. Let me reopen this. Good God. You go ahead, Chair. Oh, there's that weird chomo. I snuck in and I saw him. He goes over there and he streams himself watching TV every night, trying to bait in new people. And he's got this weird skeleton look on his face. And he'll keep that face for like 20, 30 minutes at a stretch. It's just ridiculous. Anyway. I had to take a screenshot. It was remarkable. Let me see here. Oh, dear. Karen Jones, what are you saying? Good to see you, Slim. You remember when Don Wells gave Jimmy John a shot with Candace? Could this be the same situation with Daniel and Cody? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Jimmy John? Who's Jimmy John? Isn't that Dolly? What are you talking about? You have to explain a little better, Slim. If the rumors are true, White Shed recordings, these are rug-addicted, deadbeat rents, not criminal mastermind. They're not even parents. Daniel's just the drug dealer. She's the parent, and she's withdrawn from the situation, and the kids are effectively raising themselves under the thumb and control of Janie and Daniel, who have somewhat fooled your mind because you can't think of the reality when they're pretending to be caring individuals trying to find their children, but that's only superficial. It's only skin deep there. It didn't last very long. I've never seen any more solid of an evidence this early than I have with the unfortunate pictures that we saw of the kids. And Belinda Gray's statement. She's made a couple good statements in response to the false claims of Janie and that side, Daniel. You made a beef stir fry with Szechuan sauce. Is it spicy, Monkey Mind? Yeah, drippy thoughts, Herb Alpert for interludes. Hey, you're not going to find that because AI made that song for me, by the way. Somebody was saying that they trying to figure out what song that was. You're going to be looking a while. No, babies do not leave the hospital if they test positive for illegal rugs. They won't let the mom and baby leave if the dad seems violent, etc. Yeah, especially now. They're like a place where a lot goes on. In that, it doesn't matter what happens, they always seem to having to call and make sure. Like, my daughter went into the hospital a couple times over the years, and the doctor calls and says straight up that they have to call the Children's Aid because it involves a kid. So anything that involves children has to be passed on to the Children's Aid as a point of record in that circumstance. It has nothing to do with whether or not you're suspicious or not. It's if they're presented with a child, it's just part of the process here in Canada. Yo, Slim. Let's see. How far is Chance Harbor by four-wheeler if you take the train tracks? Did Daniel have time to go and dump something in the ocean? Do you know a spot? Or is it more likely that he dug a hole? Laura, you're saying that it looks like they're doing an awful lot of searching places and not telling anybody. Why just saying it's an ongoing investigation? Well, that's a good thing in a way. That tells me if they're searching all kinds of random places like that, they're asking really the same questions that we are from afar, so we're aligned. Because really, they don't believe Daniel's story in that sense. So they're putting together the alternative version. You know, in this circumstance, the lack of a trail scent is evidence. The fact that these people were out and actively searching like maniacs and they're far and wide and miles out suggests more so that they were out busy confusing, obfuscating after hiding bodies than actually really being concerned with two kids who just happened to wander out the back door, because logic would just tell you a 4 and a 6-year-old in a wet and cold environment with no clothes on aren't going to get very far if they even want to go out there. Why would they even want to go out there in the first place? Beyond me, never happened. They wouldn't be any more than 100 feet from the house. And for a couple of individuals who are supposed to be carrying and out there searching, you would be searching and searching and searching just in your immediate. There's no need to go miles away, country blocks away. So that doesn't align with the story that they told police. 4 and a 6-year-old aren't going to be that far away. You're not running around mental because you swear somebody kidnapped your children. That would have been the first thing out of your mouth. No, you're too busy wanting to make look like they wandered off themselves and they can't be found, and you kept trying to put the blame back onto the victims who aren't around to speak for themselves at this circumstance. The same ones that you couldn't keep your hands off of. The same ones that you accuse Malaya Brooks Murray of ignoring. Which isn't anything new, by the way. That's sad. That's the most saddest part of this story thus far. And for him to talk about it as though it's normal, even if it was true. See, they're stupid. There's where you should have lied. You should have just stood up for her, called her a great mom, and ignored it. All right? So even in an emergency situation, you learn to, or you chose to put blame on Malaya. Just a blue-collar, hard-working tweaker. Trying to keep a food on the table, clothes on their backs. My opinion, says Drippy, they're buried. Mine too right now. Risky to put in the water, especially with strong currents. Yeah, they can go anywhere, and then your evidence is washed back up, and they found bodies, and they come back to you. No, they're made to disappear. The only way that you disappear is burying. Randy McLean, you think they got rid of them on May 1st in that harbor in a short drive from the mall? Is it? They're already in the vicinity? Maybe. They had a good 12 hours head start that you're thinking, Cooper? Possibly. Like, I mean, their cover story is just that bad. It's just that bad. It's a possibility. Yeah, well, that would be a fairly risky maneuver, Karen, to even go out right now and think that you're going to get away with moving bodies. No. I don't think that Daniel's out moving bodies at this point. I'm pretty sure that there's heavy surveillance around. And not the traditional type. Digital imaging. Oh, what, like a IMG file? Yeah, old mine shafts, Randy. That's a possibility. I mean, it's still risky. Sens fan, you're skeptical about leaving the doors locked while they're sleeping, especially when the kids are in the house. Yeah, right. But I don't think that they were... Oh, but don't you remember Malaya telling you that she's not the type of person to not be out there with the kids, minding them? But why are they missing them, Malaya, in the same breath? Why do you feel the need to dodge and deflect in that moment? No, you're just the type. You're just the type to have 100 bags of shitty diapers in your fucking basement, Malaya. According to Wade. Imagine how the teachers felt at school. Yeah. Yeah, well, Drippy, I don't know, it's going to be a site known, in my opinion, to the person who concealed the body. It's going to be close, and it's going to be difficult to get to, and you'll be able to get to it by ATV. There's something fishy about Janie not letting her adult son use her ATV, White Shed. Why do you say that? Maybe the guy's a wild man on it. He's really possessive of those ATVs. Those are their everything. Just in love with their new toys. Meth was definitely in Malaya's picture. The math, Kadri. Lots of people on math just stay up for days obsessing on what they enjoy, like four-wheelers. Instead of an hour or two, they'll spend 18 hours on it, right? Right. In cooking, KD, in this case, they love to cook. Or Daniel does, allegedly. Yeah, I don't know why you're saying that, Layla. Why it's possible Malaya never went and got tested by nurses, in your opinion. Why would you say that? Like, what's it going to tell you? Layla, you're talking about a different sort of substance. If the allegations are true, and it's probably more than one substance that they're doing, but when you're talking about shake and bake, you're not talking about a pure product. So when you ingest that stuff, you're taking in a lot of impurities, we'll call it, within that product because of the difference. It's made in different ways. You can make that particular substance in different ways, and the way that he would be making it is not in a very scientific environment, we'll say. You'd be making it with the SodaStream bottle and some shit that you get at the drugstore and Canadian Tire, and go through the cycle. It all has a cost associated to it, but it's better than the cost of having to buy it. The problem is that when you don't make it, or you get sloppy when you make it, a lot of these impurities and toxins make it into your system, and that's what contributes really to a lot of the negative effects physically. Karen Jones, Daniel said Malay will crack in all caps on one of his texts. So I think that was rather than math or the same thing. I don't know what you're talking about. So I think it was that rather than math, or is it the same thing? Huh? I don't know what you're talking about. You're saying that? No. He's not affording cocaine. You got to make crack. You make out of cocaine. Sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, water, and heat. He's not sending any sort of coded message. That's not leakage. That's just you associating one thing to another. No, I don't think so. No, there's too much talk about amphetamines. It was common knowledge that Daniel was in the meth business long before this happened, says KD. That's what I'm talking about. The closet neighbor assumed the place was a drug house because cars came and went all day and night. Yeah, they don't keep normal hours in that sense. That's for sure. The anonymous neighbor. The neighbor, that neighbor is, I'd love to hear an interview with that neighbor at some point. Where's Tint? You got to go to that neighbor's house. No, Laurie Green, I think you're misunderstanding things. You're coming to know and recognize that the environment that they lived in the worst case scenarios, that doesn't automatically make everybody in the extended family guilty of not rescuing them. People were trying. But without committing a felony, you can only do so much. That's why there's institutions there that hopefully do their job and look after it. In the meantime, what else do you do? So misguided anger, in my opinion, early on. I mean, the anger needs to be directed towards the people that were supposed to be looking after the safety of the kids. You can be mad at them. Or wait until further on down the line when you really understand the totality of the situation at hand. I'm not mad at Wade. Like, they went to great lengths to try to accommodate Malaya's addiction issues and try to create an environment which she could hopefully keep her kids in and live a straight life in that circumstance. It's Malaya that refused any sort of help, and the kids paid the price for that. You can't just go up and kidnap the kids from that point because you have an opinion. That would be wrong. So it's now after the fact that you realize what went wrong, that should have happened. No, life isn't like that. I mean, it's just misguided anger. Myself, I tend to believe Wade. I know what he's saying. I know where he's coming from. He was expressing his frustration with the situation, and he was letting everybody know just how sketchy Daniel is. This is information that's a lot more reliable than Darren Getty's in that circumstance. I think you're probably right, KD. You don't let tweakers use equipment. He might take it apart trying to fix it tweaker style. Talking about the ATV, Yeah, the next thing you know, there'll be new carbs on his old piece of shit ATV from the new bike. he's got he's got all kinds of new updates that he stole off of mom's bike onto his ATV. They don't quite fix right, but a little bit of duct tape will help. Or they don't quite fit correctly. I haven't been following this case since it first broke. They found both the children. No, Mighty Marcia, not yet. No, sadly, not yet. We discovered that everybody was lying. That's about it. Therefore, they're kind of summing up what happened to the kids based off of the lies and the information that is coming out about the family. Yeah, maybe Joe. You're thinking dumping them in the ocean gives them plausible deniability? An abductor would do that? So, yeah. I mean, but if you had the choice in that situation, you'd probably not want to take the risk of them being found, especially if what we're suspecting to the sinister level because of the drugs involved, that if there was SA, that you don't want you don't want any sort of autopsy happening at any point in time. I mean, throwing bodies out tied to a block or something, it's different, but you're taking a big risk in being seen. Like, then you're taking a big risk traveling around being seen, with bags in the back with blocks tied to them. Like, at some point you're taking a risk in order to have to get out and dump in the ocean, in my opinion, as opposed to staying in the woods, going out in the middle of nowhere where you can make as much noise as possible. Nobody's ever going to hear you. And it seems that that's more, in my mind, might be a little bit more likely. But I don't have all the information yet. But I could be swayed. Yeah, I think you're misunderstanding what a math lab is, Lori McNutt. A math lab is your kitchen, is anywhere. You don't have to actually have a physical scientific lab operating in the circumstance like you're watching on HBO. No, you can shake and bake anywhere in your house, in your bathroom, in your kitchen, not even be noticed. Essentially, if you have a little bit of area to pin a bag with water and a fuel to the wall, and you can separate it and then evaporate something out, that's all you need. I don't know who Gabe is, Cooper. Where did you hear the name Gabe? How did he get to be a searcher? Do you mean Daniel Cooper? I don't know that he is. I think you can probably get about 2.5 grams per box of Sudafed, Jamie. But that's when you're Smurfs. Maybe Janie's a Smurf. Well, that's your opinion, Karen Jones. Well, that's not my opinion. You consider Wade to be Durwood. I don't believe that at all. Wade didn't come out like Durwood. Wade was approached by somebody. This was a leaked interview that was really, I'm not sure if it was known about beforehand or what. Wade, in my opinion, at this point in time, is much more reliable than Durwood ever was. Durwood couldn't shut the fuck up. Katie did. I sadly do think SA may have been involved. I do too, to be honest with you. I absolutely do. And that's what's keeping the fear of God in Daniel, because they're child killers. And why would I think that him being an alleged user of these substances that turn you into a sexual predator, more or less, consumed him, and it was abuse that was being carried out on the kids? And it got too far. That's much more common than anything else, sadly. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a jump at this point. But, the writing's on the wall. I sadly do think SA may have been involved, even the catalyst, as to how they ended up passed away. Yeah, well, both of them could talk. Right. Both of them could talk. You think this idiot Daniel can control his emotions? No. You think you put him in the Atlantic? Not really, Slim. Out in the middle of the bush, there's nobody around to hear you. There's already trails out there. Places you can get to a lot easier, especially train tracks and things like that, which Wade brought up was as a place where Daniel was seen searching up and down. I wonder why. Wade was having an open conversation. He had insight right from the horse's mouth. Right. He showed true concern, absolutely, and knew about Malaya and Daniel before and had suspicion. Thank you very much, Andy H. That's a standout point. People will refuse to believe it because they'd rather much believe what they've formed their opinion over in the meantime. It's a natural human thing. You see it. I see it in chat all the time, but it's human. It's only human in that sense. But sadly, you can see what happened here. The concern is, why haven't the RCMP arrested these cocksuckers yet? What's keeping them? Yeah, this is Durwood. I'm suspicious that he's more involved after the fact than we've been led to believe. Like, why would he be motivated in to this circumstance? Why would he interfere to the degree that he did if he wasn't involved in some way? So, I mean, I'm suspicious of it. It doesn't really make me one side or the other. He's just sketchy. And the fact that Daniel was propping him up everywhere he went was pretty questionable. Why is he doing all the talking for you in this sense? At the end of the day, because that gives him plausible deniability. I think that's kind of immature, Lori Green. For everyone saying that they tried to get the kids out of there, in your opinion, didn't try hard enough. Well, thanks for the fucking info at this point. Far after the fact, you want to sit around and pass judgment upon them at this point for not doing all that they could beforehand. Well, I'm sure they were regretful. I'm sure they wish they should have done and could have done something different to help prevent this. See, that's true remorse. but it's not necessarily their fault. Misguided anger, Lori. I don't think Wade's necessarily an addict himself. Nobody wants the cops around in that circumstance. They sounded like they wanted to help the situation without having any sort of authority involved, which would be an ideal. But it's not like they're hiding from anybody. They're already involved with the authorities. I mean, you can only do so much. You can only express your concerns. You can't actively go 100% vigilante and start to, remake the law just because you think you're that important. No. Yeah, well, that's your prerogative, David, if you want to think that way. But I mean, doesn't make any sense. He's just giving you his perspective. He's not asking you to believe him. Boyd's not asking you to please believe me. He's not taking advantage of a stranger by misleading them at this point. He's telling you about negative parts of their history. That's valuable information. So you think that he's making Daniel purposefully look bad in this circumstance? Doubt it. What would he have the need to make up shit in this circumstance for? We don't need his statements to make Daniel look any more suspicious. Wade didn't have extended conversations with Grandma Patty. Nothing indicates that. Wade had no dog in this race. Right? Sounds like he's just passing you on what he knows, what he says, what he thought. More of a rumor mill, but again, who really fucking cares when he's identifying the guy as without a doubt cooking, selling, using the substances. It's really, really a very powerful statement. Corroborating evidence. It's not clan warfare in my mind. No, it's a bunch of people who are addicted, who neglected and abused their children. Now their children are dead. They've made them disappear, and they're trying to get away with it. That's what you're looking at. That's what it is. Yeah, Kaylee, Grandma Patty isn't involved either. Just a family member. Yeah, I wouldn't think she's involved with anything. Except to provide Malaya with some sort of support. She's been taken advantage of. Well, he's a stranger to you, David. Well, I think he wasn't. To you, he's talking just as bad about Malaya. To him, he's not talking bad about her. He's telling you what the concerns are, what their concerns as her parents are, the challenges that they've faced with Malaya. In my opinion, Wade's probably out there saying way too fucking much. If I was a family member, I'm like, you know what? You could probably have toned that down a bit. He's like, Jesus Christ, now everybody knows all of our negative parts, but I guess off like a Band-Aid. Yeah, he does Victoria's Secret. Who, Joe Neal, you're saying Vanessa and I believe Daniel? You gotta be smoking crack. Yeah, fuck. You're in here to troll me, I know it. Oh, thank you very much, Jump As. I appreciate the gifting of memberships. If you believe Daniel, you have got rocks in your heads. But you can do whatever you want. My God. You're obviously not worried about the kids. Oh, okay, I'll take Daniel's word for it. Nothing to see here, everybody. Oh, fantastic. You're such a good guy, Daniel. Oh, wow. No fooling you, Joe Neal. Never question. Never question anything. You gotta be putting me on. Karen, you're saying Daniel's looking better. It tells me that your minds are tainted. Daniel looks worse. You guys want to think one or the other. Both of these individuals were abusing their children. Daniel looks worse in this circumstance. Oh, so you're calling Patty a well-meaning enabler. Well, it's fine for you to say that, but you don't know them. It's just your imagination. You're already jumping the gun. You guys. Marilyn Kube, you think Janie's involved holding info? Or do you think that she's just under... Well, listen, how can you not think that she's holding info when she comes out with such a bullshit story like that? Do I think they'll get away with it, AB, Sandra? No, I don't. No, I don't think they'll get away with this. Do you, Sandra? There are quite a few occult true crime channels, Mr. Hemi. What do you mean? People practicing witchcraft and calling up the spirits of the damned in order to help the situation out. I call on you, Dark Lord. I call on you, Dark Lord. Help me out here in this situation, please. Thank you. Are you joking, of course, Joe Neal, you son of a bitch? You fucking guy. Oh, I'm playing with my fucking mind up here. You say so much so well. You led me down a trap. I don't believe anything I read anyway. Stepdad and mother are guilty of whatever happened to Jack and Lily. Oh, Enid. Thank you for being here in this chat tonight. I appreciate that. No, absolutely they are. And it's funny that people at this point in time want to allocate, 70-30 or 60-40 or how much one is over the other, who's looking better. If you're in that mindset at this point in time, it's only natural, but listen, again, you're getting ahead of yourself. You got as far as to recognize the nonsense that's going on. And by that I mean the drugs in behind. We're looking at a different beast. Like, sadly, you can't expect everybody to recognize this, nor do you really actually want anybody to recognize it in a perfect world, but sadly, this has SA written all over it. Like, the secrets probably just don't stop with these two children, but that's the primary concern here, of course. It's funny, these guys don't act like they're concerned about the kids at any point in time. I don't think in the beginning everybody was saying poor Malaya. People have been fucking hard on Malaya. If anything, Wade's comments to the world let people know just how bad the addiction is with Malaya and the likely reason that she was with Daniel in the first place. Anybody, and many people in here are well familiar with drugs and the effects over time. And what if you learned after all of these years of drug abuse and drug use out there that above and beyond everything, whether you're cooking it or using it, it controls you. It controls you. And you use it to control other people. Sandra Neal, God bless you all the way from Australia. Thank you very much for the super sticker, darling. That's very generous. So we're dealing with 2 child killers. How many more? How many are involved in this? He's been subjected to... Are you talking to Daniel? What, to see Meadow in the circumstance, Drippy? Well, yeah, this circumstance would be enough to scare you away from your usual habits, I would expect. But it's not about whether or not he's taking methamphetamine right in this moment in time. Fuck, he admitted to it. All right? He's admitted to it. And he just misconstrues and twists the reality in the moment to confuse people that want and so eager to believe something one way or the other. The fact that he already acknowledged the fact that there's drugs involved, that's all you need. Then you know what it is that he's going to be hiding. What's going on, Shay? You think Daniel's mom's shady AF? She's something, all right. Cheese and rice. So, there's a big... Let me pull up this... is this going to switch now? This photo stood out to me the other day. Well, wrong way. There's Benny. Hold on. I thought I had it. Maybe I didn't. But there was a big mound of dirt. You know, there's a picture of a person walking, and there's a huge mound of dirt in the driveway. Whether or not they used it to grade in the potholes with a machine at one time, but it was just interesting timing. I think I saw it over on Justin's channel. But there was a great big... There must have been a couple cubic meters, probably 2 cubic meters of I'm not sure if it was sand or what it was in the driveway. It wasn't stone. It was some sort of aggregate. I couldn't see it clear enough, but it was large enough to make you wonder what the hell exactly was going on back in there at that moment in time. Like, the point is it is a machine had to bring that in there. Did the machine take something out at any point in time? Who was all in and out with what? And I think they were searching tapes back. How long before May the 2nd? Like a few weeks they were requesting trail cams and things like this. And camera angles from the area in order to establish, more of an accurate timeline, because of course you can't rely on Daniel. Daniel's not exactly the most honest individual. Hey Layla, good to see you. Yeah, it's popping. I think Daniel was her dealer and they hooked up. Explorer Core, right on, man. I would expect that's how it fits in. People keep talking about it not being the first time that they groomed a girl with substances in the circumstance. It depends which time zone you're in. Victoria's Secret. It's 8 o'clock here. We're not even close to sunset yet. Close, I guess, maybe 45 minutes. Laura, you don't understand why people still are asking for these potential guilty individuals to be on their platform. It's weird. Oh yeah, welcome to the true crime genre, the true crime drama genre. Actually, sadly, I'm kind of used to that. Because I think a lot of the people, under the guise of taking them at their word, will pretend that they're not suspicious in order to get the information that everybody wants to hear out. That's the flow of traffic, okay? So there's always constantly channels out there eager to dip in that flow of traffic. Now, I'd say 75% of those channels that do it at any one point in time only really do it once or twice, and then that gets fucking old because they don't want to make that mistake again in circumstances. So they evolve a little bit. Who are you thinking about in particular, Laura? I don't know anybody who is... I don't know really anybody in this circumstance that's really buying anything that's coming from Daniel or anybody else, which I'm really thankful for. That would be infuriating. You know, it's one thing for people, you know, to be not as caught up or to be behind in their thinking of this case that's kind of developed in the last couple of weeks with the information that's come out. Because it's given people the accurate area in which to discuss things, speculate the possibilities of what probably happened, and everybody's on the same level that they can't, and they refuse to buy the bullshit story that Daniel came out with, that he's always so eager to be helping everybody, you know, correct at any one point in time. Of course, he can talk all about the bullshit story he came out with. Oh, no, I did it this way, I did it that way. That's how he makes it look like he's being helpful to the situation in the case. But in that process, he gives himself away. Yeah, Katie, I guess like we're going to know at some point in time. Part of me, it's really easy to get hard on the cops in this circumstance. But again, it's how they were delivered the information, right? So they have a couple of things to do. It's different. The RCMP are suspicious of them in this circumstance. I believe that wholeheartedly. They're not getting away with anything. Katie is saying that it's a personal opinion that they're wanting the bodies before filing charges. I think maybe, well, that's definitely going to make things easier. I would have to think that there's a process to that, like they would base things off of maybe his phone, other people witnessing things, and then they've got who knows what they've been able to pull off of. Like that's going to be the most random aspect to this case, because if they were canvassing the area for trail cams, and there'll be trail cams all around there, it's a good hunting area, and you know, it's a pretty safe bet that there's going to be people's security cams, like cloud cams, around there. So they would have had to have pulled off something. They would have to build their own timeline. Going back a few weeks would be able to monitor the vehicles that they use. Like whether they would have to go back that long, I don't know. I think it just probably helps them form a pattern of behavior. Different things stick out to you. And it's all evidence, digital evidence associated to something. They just got to make those associations, KD. Like even when they go back and try to cross-reference, and then maybe they can just track their phone and it's stationary at their house for a certain particular period of time. Well, you can factor that into how far exactly you figure that he was able to get on an ATV. And you come up with some likely hot spots, and you get yourself in the right area. With burying children, you get rid of the smell of decomposition, which would be an indicator as to where the bodies are. Obviously, I don't think that he was looking to risk getting caught in this circumstance. Like, under the influence of methamphetamine, people will go above and beyond your imagination as to just how hidden something is like this. Pretty sure he would have been obsessed in trying to get away with this particular scenario. Why do I present him as the key prime suspect in all of this in my mind? As associated and guilty as Malaya is, he's still the man behind it. He's the controller. He's the individual who has all the power at that particular trailer. And he's the one with the short temper, admittedly. And it's always the guy. Not always. I don't want to say that. You drift away from so many of your ex-friends because they got on hard rugs. I miss the old them, but I don't want to fool with people like that. Never. Well, it becomes a trust issue. Addicts don't usually want to be addicted. Enid, his mom, brother, and in-laws, her dad and mom, they know also AB. I would think that that's a very special family in that they've got all kinds of secrets and a rule that they don't, they've lied before in this circumstance. They've got a fairly easy time lying to save their own asses. That would be almost impossible in this circumstance if I was a cop. Joe Neal, you're just jilted because Malaya wouldn't move in with you and your mom? I think she's looking. Oh, Enid, look at BK on the Idaho 4 case. People still saying he's not guilty. Who in their right mind plead guilty on this horrific crime? Give me a break. Well, a person who's obsessed with infanticized, I guess the term would be, infanticized with serial killing, like that fucking idiot in Kansas, the BTK killer. People who this is a different conversation, but people who want to be known for such a thing. There's people who love violence, who love sexual violence, who love, some of the most bizarre things in the world. Humans are sinister and interesting individuals. Bonnie Smith, you're thinking Belinda's the only one that's truthful? Well, I see Belinda and Wade telling it in a perspective, in a similar way. Belinda can only be so truthful, but she doesn't know everything. She doesn't know as much as Wade, it seems, in this circumstance, but she's been important nonetheless. There's been a couple of instances where she's had highlighted the discrepancies in Daniel's claims, we'll say, which is amazing in a situation like this. It's powerful and it's warranted. No one offs two kids to get even with the parent, especially low-level users. Just no, Katie. Yeah, no, it's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely, improbable. Guys are watching too many fucking daytime TV movies. The problem is people can't think on the same level as a sinister, evil tweaker under the influence. And believe me, that's not a bad thing. but again, it's people always want to think of the less harmful thing for whatever reason. No. In this circumstance, unfortunately, it's the worst case scenario. It would have to be. Well, let's put it this way, Lacadian. You're thinking that they're $34,000 in debt, or somebody's out there thinking that they sold their kids in order to pay back the government. No, it's more likely they don't intend to ever pay that money back, okay? They're not all of a sudden going to start paying something back that they defrauded somebody from. Fucking Christ, people. What do you think the fucking point to stealing the money in the first place was? They don't intend to be paying that back. It's not like the guy, like, first of all, he said they're $34,000 in debt, and I'm saying, well, fuck, what did they buy a new car? Like, you could say the same thing. They bought a new car, you're in fucking debt. You bought a house, you're in debt. These things are a little different. Listen, when they defrauded the government, they don't intend to say, oh, I'm sorry, I'll pay that right back. No, they defrauded the government. Well, and didn't intend to really worry about much afterwards. I don't think they're really going to. They'll say they'll pay them back. Maybe what, $5 a month? Next 75 years. KD did, yeah. You know what? Malia probably only knew after he killed him. You got some great points tonight, by the way. Malia probably only knew after he killed them. Highly unlikely she was right there while he was doing that. She probably suspected but shoved it back in her memory. Nothing gets in the way of the need of that substance. Yeah, boy, you're really going out there. But yeah, I'm with you. That's definitely a possibility. Like, I hate to talk about that. It's such a horrific act. But how would you think that the abuse just stopped at physical, like he's crossed every line, like they were truly unwanted children in that environment, with liars as parents who put on the act like they were caring individuals, but behind closed doors, in other words, they're completely different individuals into themselves. No, I don't find Belinda sneaky at all either. Not in this situation. Like, I think she gets put in situations, that are unfair, but she does it out of the concern for the kids at this point in time. Like, listen, Wade didn't say, whatever. People can think what they want. Wade fucking thinks Daniel's guilty to begin with. I don't think he could have put it any other, got any more clear in that sense. He's really aligned with the same things that people have brought up because they've seen the situation and the effects of addiction, and they already know how that affects children. It's the same every time. Like, it looks the same every time. It's just, unfortunately, seems to get worse and worse, and it's never a good thing. Esther Belinda knows more than she has spoken about Malia and Daniel, we believe, unfortunately. I think that's probably true. Like, Belinda's more polite than anything. Like, I mean, in your clouding thing. No, I shouldn't say that. You're not. It's just the polite thing to do. Like, I mean, it's one thing to tell the police all of your suspicions, but it's another thing to go up on somebody's YouTube channel and start spilling all kinds of things you don't know to be true about somebody in a situation like this. Like, it's tough. Like, I mean, of course she knows a lot more about things, but I don't think she's the type of person to be sitting there gossiping up on people's YouTube channels. And there's people out there that get lost in this whole thing and think that this is a normal situation or scenario to be in, and it's not. They get pressured by people who are really after clicks and views and attention in this circumstance, under the guise of just caring about kids so fucking much that they made a YouTube channel about it. Like, there's a lot that's pretentious about that whole process. It gets away from the tragedy of it. Like, none of this is to be celebrated, but it's a place to present your outrage. But people have all kinds of things to say. I don't really necessarily want to down talk people for sharing their opinions. It's just some people's opinions. You're wondering what in the fuck's in their head. Some things are frustrating, but it's okay. It's part of it. Like, no matter what, the truth is going to shock every one of us. By the truth, I mean the truth would, in a theoretical, like, there's people's perspectives, and then there's the truth as a third person as to what happened in a scenario, and that takes a little bit of investigating. And you can come up with a more accurate depiction of a scenario than you're going to get from believing any one person in a situation. But people want to choose sides and take their anger and rage out on people just by suspecting it, under the guise of just pretending to care about children that much. We all care about kids. We all love kids. That should be a no-brainer. We were all kids. Drippy thoughts. Drippy thoughts side. I think it was obvious Wade and Cindy couldn't stand Daniel, justifiably so. Daniel couldn't stand them because they were a threat to his relationship. Do you know, it's really funny because they haven't really been together that long. Like, they really haven't been together all that long. All right. So I think you're probably onto something. After hearing that, I feel different about Malaya's side. It's becoming a lot more clear in my mind about the challenges that they had as a family. Like, I mean, as a parent, you're going to struggle in that sense because you want your child to be doing the responsible thing, especially when it comes to your grandchildren. And I mean, you can be in a situation where you're trying to communicate with your child at that point in time and be lied to, because how else do you present it? It doesn't mean that the person that's in need of adjustment, which would be Malaya here, ever had to not lie. She's always lying because that goes along with the addiction. Okay? And that's what makes it so horrible for the person to go through in hindsight as a person when you recognize that. You lie to yourself. You lie to everybody else. And the person like Cindy or Wade or whoever's concerned, or Patty, can only do so much. Do so much before the authorities have to step in. I mean, I should finish that statement. I'm sorry. Before authorities step in. Now you can be mad at the authorities in the circumstance. Like, I personally, that's so difficult, man. Like, I want to be upset at Children's Aid in the circumstance too. But it's a constant battle, and how are you supposed to improve a system? Or how can, I don't think you're ever going to get a perfect system when the organization in theory shouldn't exist at all. Like, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. There's not a clear answer. But people have every right to be upset with any child protective services, any state, any province. Yeah, you'd have problems speaking about it, Esther. If it were your grandchildren, you could never speak on it alone. Let social media or on social media. Yeah, I think she was pressured, and you know what? I'm glad I don't wish anybody to be in that situation. Like, what a shitty scenario. Even to a degree, the guilty parties involved have, I don't think probably wanted to be involved. I don't want to think. But I mean, at what point do you consider a situation like this? Like, it's going to be difficult because there's 2 children, and that whole process of decision making to take 2 children's lives, you made the decision, whether you were under the influence or not, to take 2 children's lives because you couldn't control yourself. And you're going to do everything, even to this very day, to cover your tracks and get away with it because you're more concerned with yourself than anybody else. It's not to be surprising. That's how devilish this situation is. Emily, what are you saying? Lori McNutt, then why is she saying, what is Lori McNutt saying, first of all? It's all wound up. Excuse me. Emery, Belinda said she knew the basement was full of moldy clothes. Actually, I just found some moldy clothes in my basement, by the way, behind the washing machine. Threw it out right away. Threw it out. Gross. Emily, Belinda said she knew the basement was full of moldy clothes, but she wasn't sure about the diaper situation. Well, yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up because that would have been with Cody, right? That's not something you probably want to bring up. That's a lot of bags of shitty diapers. Like, what the fuck are you doing with the... You went to the effort to put them all in bags, and you just threw, like, bags in the garbage. That's definitely got to be somebody preoccupied with their particular mathematics. Oh, shit. Esther, I'm afraid we stopped watching Crying Shame's channel. It was becoming unbearable. What do you mean? Why didn't you guys... I actually don't even... I go and check out the title. I see what's going on for a few minutes. I like to see what people are talking about. You're unsatisfied as a customer? What's going on, girl? So, in my mind... There's certain things that people can go too far with, and it's this pretentiousness of pretending to be so concerned about missing children that it gets placed so far above everything else. It's pitiful. It's disgusting. Like, I mean, it gets to a point of exploitation because it's just unreasonable. Like, it gets away from the gravity of the situation, I feel, and the tragedy of it all. But what I'm saying is that it's an effective way to grift. It's an effective way to get to work on people's sympathies. because the people who are concerned in it and watching it are often, in a certain state of mind. Drippy, and yet Malaya is crucified for not speaking because it is not normal. She wants to know what happened to her grandkids. She's paying attention to everything in networking connections. I would have to think that Malaya knows what's coming down the line. Hiding behind a lawyer is probably the best thing you could do as a guilty individual. I mean, that's probably the best decision she's made yet, is shutting up. And, as far as self-preservation goes, like, I want her to spill the beans, not just to satisfy my own curiosity, but so we can get some closure for Jack and Lily in this circumstance. But I don't know that that's going to ever happen with her. I have to skin this cat a different way. I have to do this thing the hard way. But as far as, it's I think we have pretty much a good idea what happened. So then how do we prove that? How do we go ahead and gather enough evidence to present to a jury in order to bring a conviction for first degree and whatever else is presented itself? Because it seems to be that, look at what we just found out. No matter what you believe, it seems to me that the immediate family all knew and weren't exactly in the dark about the things that have been brought up about the case, about the rugs, about the neglect, about the questionable decision making, just the road of the spiraling, downward trajectory of this relationship, and meeting the kids as well, and how much there was theft involved, so we knew that they were relying, they weren't actually working a 9 to 5 or anything. They were looking to steal as a means of income. What did everybody fucking do for money there? It seems like they were all living off of the benefits from Malaya and Jack and Lily. And now the new baby. Hey, when you fill out that new form to register a new baby, just add a couple more kids to that. We'll pretend my kids are on there too, so we can get some more money per month. You guys. You don't think that they're going to catch that? I don't think it mattered. It doesn't matter in the moment. It's just a way for tweakers to get money. That's sad. Mr. Hemi, beware of any creator that names themselves Mama. Why is that? Why do you say that? No, Lacadian. No. It's not like that at all. You watch too much HBO. You can become a maker, a dealer, and consumer of meth with a little bit of stuff from Canadian Tire and your drugstore. It's not a cartel scenario by any means. This is what they call hillbilly. It's shake and bake. You're thinking of something completely different. Thinking of a better product, by the way. The cartels in places make their methamphetamine completely different. They make it with chemicals that aren't readily available to the public like you and I. It's the type of stuff that you got to get right from the Chinese government. It's different. But not any less toxic or any less dangerous. Layla, Belinda told them that Malaya spent a lot of dollars on name brand clothing. Slowly she was talking, knowing kids are gone. Well, who cares about that? That's probably years ago. Probably years ago. I don't care about the transition that Malaya. We can see the transition. You can go to her old YouTube channel. She looks like a sweet, innocent young kid as a young child. You almost hate to go and look at it. Emily, Lori McNutt, then why is she saying Daniel was lying and she was a good mom? People act like Belinda doesn't lie. She does too. She's no better than any of them all of them looking out for someone. Well, it's probably more important that you don't fall into that trap of trying to stick up. Just absorb it all in. Why are you believing any one person? Everybody's going to have their perspective. Yo, Jen R. Criming is cringe for sure. Truth and Beauty 25. Really? Sunny's cringe worthy. Well, she has to be. She's got to be a good host in that circumstance. It makes for a better host. I think she's just following the YouTube instructions, probably. Kaylee, the bags with diapers were when Daniel and Malaya stayed with her before they moved to Daniel's trailer, so not anything to do with Cody. Oh, it's not? I misunderstood that? So it was Malaya and Daniel when they were living at Patty's? Did I understand that right? Or there's a different house? They were Where were they? But it had to do with Daniel. I see. Maybe he's got a diaper fetish. Yeah, well, it's really easy to get, in a position to say that everybody is, in the know at any one point in time, especially when it comes to their immediate circle of family and friends. Listen, Daniel and Malaya were actively, constantly lying to everybody in their family. So God knows what they actually knew about the situation. They can only get to know so much. Usually they learn the hard way through getting fucked over for money, having their loved ones screwed over for money, constantly lied to. But at least they bring the kids over and visit, right? So it's like, how do you know exactly how bad it is? You can have suspicion, you can talk about it, but it's not until something tragic happens can you really say, holy fuck. Without uncertainty, you can make better connections after the fact. You could wish you did something different, when in fact all you wanted to do was help your loved one, because no matter the addict, you're still trying to help that person in that moment. Yeah, well, I don't know, Amity. You're getting your information from a known liar, so who knows? They couldn't have lived that far away, because Daniel came to the house that he was at with the horse trailer searching for the kids, as if they would be there. So who knows? But I wouldn't believe Daniel. That's probably the first mistake there. Lori Green, you're saying Cindy, Wade, Patty, Belinda knew Daniel didn't want her seeing the kids straight away. Red flag. Cindy and Wade knew the Ruggs were involved. Red flag. Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong. I'm just personally not upset, like, because I don't know for a fact. I mean, I know that I know what I would have done in that circumstance. But I don't want to put that, because I don't, that if I start turning judgment, that makes people think that I know for a fact that things have happened. I would rather know what the things that I don't know in a circumstance than pretend that I know based off of, just turning judgment. That's all. Well, I mean, you're calling people biased, and she debated blocking me on her stream. What? Oh, who are you talking about? MV, I appreciate you, darling. I know I am way behind catching up. To answer your question, when I worked in labor and delivery, if born addicted, baby is taken into state care. Yeah, she is behind. You're behind, girl. Who are you calling biased, somebody? Are you calling over there? Oh, are you mentioning Sunny, maybe? I think generally, if you're going to be, people are going to be rude in chat, people generally get banned or kicked out or timed out or whatever, or discriminated against. Yeah, see, Shay, this is what I get. Like, I mean, I agree with Lori to an extent, and I hate to get ahead of myself. If someone was hurting my kids and I found out, then I would stop at nothing to find and get them help. Right, you would think. As soon as I knew that there was physical violence and the sort of neglect involved, I would be fucking beside myself. I would be livid. I would do something myself personally. But I mean, what is Cindy going to do? I mean, not everybody reacts the same. Maybe she had a different way of going about things. I'd just call the police, tell them what I'm going over to do, and they can meet me over there. But I'm not going to be asking the cops to go and do anything for me. I'll be taking care of business myself. And they can stay over there, just in case there's any funny business going on. But one thing's for sure, something's changing. Like, I would insist of something changing right there and then. And that's coming down to you coming with me and having to live in my basement, so be it for a couple months. I would have to do that, but to lock you up in a cupboard. But what are you supposed to do? Go and take 3 kids out of the situation? You're going really causing a domestic disturbance. We're fantasizing a bit, of course, but based off of what we think we know. Yeah, Julia Hayden, I don't understand the RCMP's hesitation either. Unless they've, because of the only thing that I can think of is because of the absurdity of the situation. It's really a situation that's writing itself. So they're just waiting for even more information and to release the next step, or to bring it to a point where they've got so much accumulated that they really know where and what happened to the children. Maybe they're almost there. I don't know. I don't know how you could almost be there. At what point do you bring them in and lock them up because someone is going to talk? When there's so many people lying to you in this circumstance, I get it too. I'm afraid they found a recipe to get kids gone and not have to worry about it. Yeah, Lori Green, you're right. Yeah, you're right. It's a difficult situation. It's a difficult situation to not get emotional about. Obviously the right answer is that they could have done more, and they should have done more. But I would have to think that they feel the same way, especially after the fact. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to fucking remind them of that. That's not my job. Because I realize that life's a lot more complicated than that, especially when it's your own child. And they're lying to you. You're under a guise, and you get misled, and things all of a sudden, at the end of it, whose fault is it really? Those children never needed to die this way. We don't know how they died yet, because we could be having this conversation for really no reason when we know the truth of what happened. Then we can cast judgment. Then we can determine and judge people's honesty at that point in time a little bit more accurately, right? I just think it's a little bit preemptive. I'm going to start yelling at them. I want to listen to them more. I want them to tell me more. The more that I know them, or the more that I hear them, the more that I know them in that sense. I feel a little bit more comfortable with the information that they're giving me, because it's not like Darren Getty's. It's the complete opposite. It's not gossip. Not in the same way that Darren did. Oh, Katie, it is a trailer. Who knows why there's locks on the fridge? I got locks on my cupboards here. But that's because we need them. My daughter's special needs, right? But if you're saying that it was part of him processing meth, it would be probably evaporating. It would probably be evaporating off in the fridge would be the best, and that would be the reason for the lock on it, you're thinking. I don't judge him based on that one alone. Mr. Hemi, Sonny or Psychophants? Who are you talking about? Psychophants. Are you talking about her mods? Don't be talking nasty about her mods. They're probably lovely people. They're just caught up in a situation. You guys are fucking hating. It's tough out there. You can't satisfy everybody. I think so too, Katie. It has, all of the indicators, and people are talking about it around them. And it would even account. Katie, here's her comment. Sorry to disagree, not with me, but somebody else. You're entitled to think what you want, but all the signs point to she was. If I'm convinced of anything in this case, it's both parents were highly involved in using mathematics. Yeah, absolutely. That's a fair statement. I have to agree with that. Not in an ignorant way. Can they prove the M word in this case as of now? Like, what can they actually charge them with, I wonder? Tammy, we don't obviously know all of the information that we have. They probably are right on the money with the suspicions, but they need some sort of evidence. It would probably have to do with what they have now. I don't know that. Daniel hasn't given it to him yet. Maybe they're playing with Daniel. At some point in time, you would think that you're going to present them with a bunch of situations, scenarios, more questioning. Once you have some sort of information. But you can proceed without any body No different than Trezell and Jacqueline West, right? You could proceed with the case in this scenario and present. Well, first you would have to present something, but because at this point, when you can prove that they're lying and deceiving you in the moment, which is all they really have to do, then everything else becomes a little bit more suspicious, to the point where there's no reason to be lying in a circumstance like this if you truly are innocent. So I don't know. Tammy, to answer that question, it's a difficult question. Probably not even. It's a difficult question for me to answer for you. Crown prosecutor would be the man to ask. But if it would be just the simple homicide, it would. I think it's more than that in this circumstance. Like, there's a lot more involved. There's a deeper story as to what happened to the children to be told. Once that story is told, you're going to understand a lot more as to where there's more crimes at hand here, because you're probably looking at a fairly heinous act. One that you would have to expect a person isn't going to be truthful about. Think about what that girl did. That Not Your Business, when she was on math in her boyfriend's basement that one night, and cut him up and put his head in a bucket for his mom to find at the bottom of the stairs. Think about the crazy shit that people do under the influence at any one point in time on that stuff. But I think the easiest way of talking about it is, what do they, like Orrin and Orson West, they prosecuted the parents without a body in either sense, based off of just some of the testimony from the other kids there and the evidence at hand. But with Trezell and Jacqueline, or Orrin and Orson West, or Classic and Sincere, however you know the case, let me make it perfectly clear. In this circumstance, there's a greater crime that got covered up here. Okay? It wasn't just what happened to Classic and Sincere when they got under Trezell's house. It was, how the frick did the kids get in that situation in the first place, and the questionable practices of child protective services in that Los Angeles region, or in that particular county. I should be more specific. I just thought it'd be general so you knew where I was talking. But they didn't want to talk all about that. You never really heard much about that come up. It was just more, and as it should, they're charging them for the murder of two of those children. And think about the parallels with just how those kids disappeared, right? Playing with chalk on the back, just a little bit of concrete in the backyard. And when Trezell went back out, he noticed a little bit of the gate open. Now, who else noticed the gate open, I wonder, Janie? Really wanting the people to fill in the blanks themselves, and suggesting that the children just freely walked out themselves and now you can't find them. Those are two parallels right there. They're presenting it in much the same way, and I would think that it's going to look a lot more similar to that particular case, and how they have to go about prosecuting two parents who aren't cooperative, we'll call them, or only cooperative to a degree, in giving you all kinds of false statements. Nobody said you had to tell the cops the truth. especially when you're trying to fabricate a new reality for yourself. It's an open playing field. Sky's the limit. Where did I just read that? Who are you talking about? Do I have children? I hope not. Who are you talking about, Lacadian? Bubbles and dolls, they won't charge till they can prove they did it beyond a reasonable doubt. That's why it takes them so long, or they don't have charges at all. In Canada, you can't be charged for the same crime twice. That's double jeopardy. I think that's similar in the States as well. I don't know, baubles and dolls. I mean, that's a generic thing to say. But you're not wrong. You think Janie was smart enough to at least fake it on national TV? Oh, absolutely. You're questioning whether or not liars lie? It comes down to it. How can you tell the difference between a lie and not a lie in this circumstance? You have to first identify that you can't, rather than go with what you want to be true. Yeah, you think, Tammy? I don't. You know, situations like this. There's plenty of situations similar to this where you can get a good judge on how exactly they go about it, investigation. And the key point to detectives especially is to have an open line of communication up until the point you don't need it anymore, okay? And they will create a soothing environment. They'll create a friendly working space, and they'll even pretend to believe you for as long as it takes to get all the information out that you brought. If somebody like Daniel continues to bring out information in the way that he does, he's tripping himself up. You know? And that works towards the investigation's benefit in that sense. Like, he's making himself look guilty. And he's trying to convince everybody else of to deny what your senses really sense in the circumstance, trying to convince you of something else. Like Janie convincing you of the reason why she's crying. Like, that's really important part of the situation here. They're not very sophisticated liars. All right? Anybody can see that they're fucking lying. But as an investigative detective, you never want to give up all of your cards. You don't want anybody knowing that you suspect them of doing something in this circumstance. Why it's taking 2 months? Beyond me. I mean, I can write a better fantasy in my mind than this damn reality. But there's a reason. There'll be a reason for it. The way that it looks. It would, in my mind, it probably comes down. Oh, you're talking to Mr. Hemme. It probably comes down to the people in charge over there of the investigation of the initial situation in Pictou County being not very experienced. Let me put it that way. That's what I fear. Like, why you could ever use that as an excuse in a circumstance like this is, I don't know, but that's what my concern is. Because I don't have a whole lot of faith in the ranks of the RCMP anywhere. Especially a federal agency, and the RCMP is a federal police agency. It's not a local city cop. It's not a, I'm not trying to lump them all as being a certain way, but I know how the system has failed us in the past, and it's probably going to do the same in the future. And that's actual plausible deniability, because the people that let us down don't know any better in these positions that they get hired in. For whatever goddamn reason they got hired in the first place. That's my fear. But I'm pretty sure that that's a lot of their coworkers' fears as well. So I don't think that I'm any person to really bring that up. It's just how I feel. That's my fears in that sense. But I mean, it's good to be paranoid in that way. But again, that's my bias. That's just my bias. No, not right this second. Iwashan, so are people leaning more towards possibly something happening to the children related to the parents' addiction? Example possible that high behavior caused someone to do something likely not intended? That's a strong possibility. Yeah, I think that's one of the potentials. I mean, there's a couple alternative. It would have to, yeah, one way or the other. I would think, yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. Yeah, Jane's Daniel's mom, Shay. Janie exhibits underlying anger with Daniel, exhibited in her answer, Daniel not allowed to use the ATV. There's probably some drama, some complaints around the house, I would expect. Wouldn't you expect if you live with your mom still? You guys are all living in the same shack. It's like it's like a moose hunting cabin in the middle of nowhere. But they live there. And how would they make an example out of Daniel and Malaya? You can't do that. You can't make it doesn't make sense, Layla. No, they have to do their fucking jobs here, in my opinion. It seems so hard to believe that when a person can't prove their story, when two children go missing in this sense, that they don't have handcuffs and you guys can't really figure out what exactly happened. I mean, Malaya immediately went silent. Is that to protect her own narrative? There's some question about Daniel's paternity. Tomato? Well, who's it going to be? Where did you hear that, Karen? If there's question, I guess that I don't even want to start. That's new. I've never heard of that before. Where did you hear that? Or did I miss that from Wade or something? There's a lot you can miss because he's like a mumble talker. The way that he talks, it's very difficult to pick up, but you can get the gist of most of what he's saying. It doesn't really happen like that, though, Julia Hayden. The kids don't get into the drugs and overdose and they panic and bury them. No. There's something more nefarious at hand. That's just putting blame back onto the victims. You know, that's just simplifying it in your own mind. It's not the kid's fault that, number one, they got into drugs. I mean, it's not that it's not possible. It's definitely possible. But if the kids got into something, generally they wouldn't just up and keel over and die. You have to take them someplace to like a hospital. But it's very unlikely at this point in time, especially with a bunch of addicts who don't share their drugs. You don't risk your kids getting into your drugs. You want them. You keep them out of their way. That's why you put locks on things. A guy had a lock on the fridge but didn't lock the sliding door. That doesn't make sense. Now, Julia, I don't think anybody believes that anymore. Only for the reason that it never happens like that in a situation like this. It's much more violent and much more sinister. That doesn't have the need to. You don't panic like a cartoon and bury the dead bodies in a circumstance. You do that when you can't afford to do anything else. You're forced there out of total self-preservation. Okay, right? Out of the desperate nature of it. And there's no reason, especially when you know the type of drug involved and you know the sexual nature that goes along with this, that the possibility of them being SA'd and perhaps that being part of the reasoning as to their murders has to be considered in this circumstance. Has to be. But that's why it's so important to find the bodies, because at that point you would be able to verify things through autopsy. Yeah, you were Sean. You're talking about noise sensitivity and things. Yeah, people's patience. You've got no patience, especially when you're coming off of them, which would have been all the time. It's not just that you're high on them and feeling good. It's all the rest of the time. It's all the rest of the time that you're preoccupied with getting the next high. What does that mean, Mariska? Violence would leave blood? Was luminol used? Not necessarily. You can use violence with no blood, especially when it's sexual violence and strangling. There's a reason why Janie favors Justin over Daniel. How do you know that to be true? Well, it's probably true now. She thinks Daniel is a dunderhead. She thinks Malaya's thing is evidence of Daniel's stupidity. I don't know why you'd come to that conclusion, but you probably aren't wrong. But it doesn't really matter. The whole family living situation there is off kilter. It doesn't make any sense to begin with. Oh, Elise knew. It could be that as well, but the word on the street is, okay, that probably will be meth, just because of the proximity to it. It's the easiest thing for her to get her hands on, and she's hooked on it. Absolutely, it's meth. Ellie knew. You probably don't know enough about it. First of all, they're not going to afford a pill addiction. They can't afford a coke addiction. They don't have the money there. And it's not just us, basing a false opinion. It's word on the street, verified by Wade, verified by other people, friends, or so-called friends in that circumstance, of family, people who were there at the end of the driveway. Oh, regardless. That would have absolutely been one. They call that the divorce drug because it's a dissociative. Their habits were a dissociative away from the children. Those children didn't have anybody in that circumstance. Not just when they were using it, all the time, because they were using now and then, here and there, weekends, every second day, every third day. Next thing you know, he's cooking, selling, using it every day. It's an everyday thing. That's how you get 100 bags of shitty diapers in the basement. Just open the door and throw it down. Because you're preoccupied with something else, like making it. Lori's saying Justin is Janie's oldest and she does favor him and has 4 years plus. She has a good relationship with Daniel's first wife, so I've been told. Well, good for them. It's probably all on... I would be thinking it's on the outs at this point in time. Well, there's nothing worse than having two addicts laying around the house all day. That's probably a little bit shitty. You're saying the kids annoyed them and all, and were a hindrance, especially with the new baby and eventually money issues? Yeah, I don't think that they exactly wanted to be parents. I think from... who's to say what they would say, but it doesn't seem to me like they wanted to be parents all that badly. Yeah, KD. Yeah, it's disappointing for them. Would you even call him a step-parent in this circumstance, Layla? I don't call him a parent at all. Daniel's just... He's got a chick there. She's with their drug dealer. That's common. That's a common situation. And this isn't the first time that a woman's neglected her kids because she's fallen in love with the glass dick. Well, what does that term mean to you? What does that term party mean to you, Dippy? So when Daniel says he doesn't party, that could mean something completely different than you're intending it to mean. Do you expect him to tell you the truth? No, a lot of people still go through that transition of peeling their believing Daniel and the information that he presented. They think something's true when it's all bullshit. He's bullshitting you, dude. Daniel's a fucking... he's out. He's been exposed. Wade exposed his punk ass. I believe Wade in that circumstance. Absolutely I do. Because it confirms everybody's suspicion already. That's all you had to hear was just somebody that knew him, that was close to him, telling you that he was cooking and making meth. People have been saying that since the beginning. Now you can really say it. Never really goes over well when you out your drug dealer. That's why everybody has such a shady little story around what they were suspecting things to be and why you can't get a clear answer as to what was going on at the end of the driveway the first day. That the RCMP had to kick people out of there. A bunch of tweakers. Because the chances are there's more than one person dabbling in it. And the other person's just there not knowing. That Cheryl gal. Well, it's generally the only thing to do in the country, Dippy, is party on the weekends with your friends. But it doesn't mean you necessarily have to do hard drugs. Oh, you mean partay. Oh, that kind of party. Come on. So what you're saying is that it's fairly common for people to be using that sort of substance at these parties. I see. It's probably the only thing you can get that's not cut with fentanyl anymore. The old shake and bake. Oh, Shay, you can't stand to be around somebody even in public on that crap? Well, it sounds like you've got some stories, gal. What are you talking about? I wouldn't even consider it. I think I would have to end my friendship. The problem is CPS may have added to the motive, Miss K. You know, now you're thinking. It would have definitely added to the pressures of the situation, but I think that we can see, and it's clear that whatever negative juju is in that place was getting taken out on those children. So you have a couple of things going on. You've got Janie resentful at Daniel for bringing this thing in, who doesn't want to look after her kids, who are driving her. These kids are driving her up the wall. So she's constantly complaining to Daniel, and Daniel's, putting that on to her and taking his anger out on the kids, essentially getting frustrated like Letitia Staunch got frustrated in having to deal with this unwanted child in the residence. These little defenseless kids who can't stand up for themselves. And how long was he doing this for? Since they moved in? When did it get bad? He's got all the reasons why these kids have black eyes. And guess what? They gave them to each other, according to him. Yeah, I'll just bet they did. You don't necessarily have to get, it could be different ways of getting black eyes. Not just physical punishment. No, Julia. The parents haven't fooled anybody. The parents haven't fooled anybody. Maybe themselves. I'm not sure what you're confused about. The parents have done something horrible to the kids and are lying in public, and it's still going on right now. And they still are not arrested. And they're avoiding really talking about the situation in a realistic manner based upon the information that's out there now, with your typical bullshit mainstream media sense. That's all. They can be arrested at any point in time, brought in. But it's probably not going to look like that. Daniel will come in for another interview. He'll come in and talk with the expectation he'll be going home at the end of the discussion. Then after they talk for a little bit, he'll find out that he won't be going home anytime soon. That's usually how it goes. What? Shay, where the hell are you going? I used to go out with friends on the weekends and go dancing while my kid went to their dad's. Like I run into these math heads in public. I've ended the friendship soon as they showed themselves to be. Oh, Shay, you gotten yourself into that hillbilly math down there. You're going out line dancing. They got tweakers at line dancing too. Out carousing, meeting people. Oh my God. No, I understand it, Shay. I'm just imagining, I'm anticipating these big stories of Shay getting introduced to tweakers and you not realizing it when you first met them. Actually, that's common. It's a horrible drug. It's such a horrible drug. Devastating. Oh, I don't know, actually. I don't know if Janie is a user. I like to call her one. But personally, no, I don't know. I know Daniel. I suspect Daniel to be one. I think Janie's probably... I don't know. I don't know in this circumstance. I don't know enough, Iwashan. But I would like to think not. But she's a bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like there's something... And I think it's hard to tell whether it's the fact that she's simply lying. She's got an anger management issue. She's already high strung. But who knows? Maybe by this, she's actually 34 years old, right? No, I'm just kidding. Who knows how old she really is and what her medical issues are. If I was a responding officer, yeah, I would be suspicious of it. Especially that we knew the history of the place. And the cops know the history of that shithole. Oh shit, that's a completely different place, Lori Green. Deliverance is in Virginia, isn't it? Way down on the Chattahoochee. No, Nova Scotia's a nice area. You just get a bad view of it from that particular Garlock Road. It's a nice place. It's quaint. I call Nova Scotia quaint. For the most part. But every place has its ups and downs, and every place seems to have tweakers. And the effects are the same no matter where you are, whether it's in Europe or Nova Scotia or the West Coast or down in Texas. You know a tweaker's house when you see one. Oh, shit. And the effects are usually the same. Very, very similar. That's the problem. Meth heads are the ones walking down the middle of the street first thing in the morning when you're getting up for work. Those are the tweakers. Yeah, I doubt that, Mariska. I've never heard of that condition. I wouldn't trust a word Daniel has to say, especially passing drug tests. If Daniel's out here telling you one thing, it's because he wants you to think that as opposed to the truth, okay? Well, the question should be, why does Daniel have to be supervised to see his kids in the first place? And he's spinning it as a good thing. And he's passing drug tests in order to do so. What tells you, what's the real reason? Fuck me. Shut the fuck up. When they find out the reason, why he's even around a kid in the first place is beyond me. It's all for show. Janie's 59. She's just a young thing then. Did I see Malaya was just trying to get money for herself for upcoming fundraiser for kids? Oh, really? Oh, Jesus, Murphy. Jesus Christ. I'll take your... Where did you hear that? She'll have to go over to It's a Criming Shame. See if they can't start a fundraiser together. Oh, Esther. Don't get me started with that story. That's funny stuff. That's some Candace Owens stuff. Yeah, I get it. Dude looks like a lady. So how much longer is it going to take, Julia Hayden? That's kind of what we're bullshitting around here right about now talking about. Are arrests coming soon? You would have to think so. If we know all of this information, imagine how suspicious the RCMP really are. In reality, there's a constant conversation going on behind the scenes, I'm sure. By the way, what's taking so long? I don't have that answer, nor do I want to give it to you. I want to use it as an insinuation to the RCMP to hurry the hell up. You'd have to think that they're sticking out because they're confident they can find a body, but I don't like being held in limbo like this, especially when there's so much suspicion in the air, we'll say. How do you know that, Lori? Daniel would have to pass the drug test if he was having supervised visits. Not unless it was put in one of the stipulations. If that was a stipulation in order to see his daughter, then there's your answer into having drug use, involved in the kids. I mean, that must be well known about to CPS then. There must be a reason for that. Do you know what I'm saying? So that would direct kind of where the suspicions really are. And you expect this guy to lie to you. He's always lying. Oh, you're going to tell us the truth this time, Daniel? Oh, okay. Oh, I believe you this time, Daniel. Not. When trying to get a timeline, a replays at 2:45 a.m., 3 guests on the 2S signed statements they cited the kids. Mel Wilkie, where did you see that? That's probably, is that a Daniel claim? Not that that actually means anything when you know that they're already lying. Anything that they say is has a big old fat asterisk beside it. Oh, she doesn't live off the grid, Lori McNutt. She's got an extension cord running through her front windshield. She's got power in that bus. So that's not living off the grid. She just lives like a fucking homeless person. There's a big difference. Everybody that I know that lives off grid can afford to live off grid. It's expensive to cut off yourself from the power lines and go straight like solar, wind, or alternative power source. That's expensive shit. Thermal heating, geothermal, excuse me. All those people have fucking money. Oh yeah, urine samples. People have been passing piss tests forever, by the way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like even when people are talking about having to pass a drug test, guys, is it worth even talking about anymore when everybody's already, the dude's already admitted, they've already talked about the problems that they have with meth. And there's still people not convinced that meth is the drug of choice here when they've already talked about it. They've all admitted it. Okay. Whether it was yesterday or fucking 6 weeks ago, whether it was 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock, they just told you that they've done it. Okay. So you don't have to split hairs at this point in time. They just admitted it to you. You can fill in the rest of the blanks. Yeah, drugs was a fucking factor. Absolutely 100% math. Why people get so hung up on these certain angles that can't make them see the forest for the trees. They've all admitted it. Not necessarily truth and beauty, but Daniel is super skinny. These fucking guys. What is Belinda saying? Please, I want to stay here. What do you mean, what is Belinda saying? Oh, she's over somewhere else? Oh, go over and check it out. Go check it out. I don't stop everything and go and check out if she's speaking. She never has anything to say. She never has anything to say that isn't trying to feed back into it's a crime being shamed sort of false narrative. It's like she's been brainwashed by something. Like she thinks this is actually a good way to represent yourself. She doesn't need that shit. But it's not my decisions. Oh yeah, Quiz. Yeah, you've got to maintain all of that, the hardware, Quiz. So you've got to know your shit. These people aren't living off the grid. They just don't pay their hydro bill. Hey. They don't pay their hydro bill, and when there is hydro, they just run their extension cords off into the goddamn bus. That's how they live. That's a fucking homeless. Living like a homeless person. There's no log cabin in the woods by any means. We got some 2x4s in the front and a rat-infested mattresses in the back. There's 2 mattresses out there, I noticed. One in front of Janie's trailer. It looked like a little single mattress, pretty sure, but there's one in the back that I'm very curious about. It's just a nasty fucking mattress hanging back there. Doing its thing. Puke. Lori McNutt, she's talking about them canceling the fundraisers because nobody will support them. Who are you talking about, Lori McNutt? What fundraisers? Why is anybody supporting any fundraiser at this fucking point in time? That's my question. There should be no fundraising going on at any point in time when there's a tragedy at fucking hand that nobody has an answer to. It's a distraction, and it takes away from the tragedy and the severity of the situation under a false pretense. All right? Weaning off the fucking sympathies of random individuals wanting to make it look a certain way. You really start to manipulate people at that point in time. You don't need to have any fucking fundraisers, but people will always find a reason to raise money, especially here on YouTube. That's kind of the whole point to many people, sadly. Okay? That's my fucking opinion on it. Like, if there is a legitimate reason to raise money, go raise money and tell people what you need it for. Having a bunch of garbage, like you're branding 2 missing kids in hopes that there's some they magically found. It's no different than fostering a false narrative. It's taking away from the brutality and the tragedy of what happened to them. And hence, people's energy. People need to keep their goddamn money. Anytime that you bring up money in front of a bunch of people that are so emotionally attached to something and feel that they need and want to help in ways that are biased and wrong based on false pretenses, no matter what it is at any one point in time, is wrong. It's my opinions. People can do what they want. People can do what they want. Yeah, I get turned off too with it, Queez. I get turned off by it. Because really at the end of it, it's just a way for the people to virtue signal in a way. It's more having to do with virtue signaling and trying to pretend that they're doing the right thing in this circumstance. Well, doing the right thing is talking about it in a way like we are, not like I do God's work here by any means, but I mean talking about it in an appropriate manner is the best thing that you can do with it, which is very difficult because it's not exciting. It's not necessarily the most exciting thing to do because people want to hear progress and hear this cheerleading squad, and people get hooked into it. People get hooked into it, and it's just human nature in that sense. It's too bad, but you can't change that from people. People have to change themselves. People get swept up into this. Virtue pandering, Layla. That's a good term. Yeah, it's ever evolving. It's ever evolving. People will always find a way. I don't necessarily always hold it or against people for the long term. Because really, we've all been there once or twice. We've all been new to this kind of, let's call it genre at one time or another, and made mistakes. And, we, not mistakes, but, would rather do things differently. Oh, it's a great. That's what disgusts me is because it disgusts me a little bit because of how Daniel appears. So the next thing you have is you're raising money and you've got all these fantastic things in the name of Jack and Lilly Sullivan, and you've got the fucking murderer of the kids using your live chat as guys to continue the manipulation of the public, and now you're a vessel for all that's wrong with a situation like this. So you're really aiding and abetting the suspects in this circumstance, just for the sake of having some views and some popularity in the moment to grow your channel. And fuck me, my conscience just can't live with that shit. Like, I could never do that. I would far rather apologize to somebody for being wrong far after the fact than ever chancing helping any one of these suspects at any one time, because there is no excuse for child murder. And I'm tired because once you've been around for a little while, you see the pattern of behavior and you really start to recognize that it's nothing new. It's sadly not new, but what is constantly being done is the engagement and bringing this in front of the public with your bullshit story is beneficial to the people who are trying to get away with the crime. Shay, people will give them, then tell everyone about it. To me, that's seeking attention for some. Oh. I don't know. I'm all for there's plenty of ways to make money here on YouTube, right? Why go and do something above and beyond, like, some things, I guess, I believe are too far. I think it's just too far. I can get somebody wanting to do more and much more and driving people and attention, especially that you got traffic to a place where you sell them things. I get it. But again, what's out of our control here is the fact that no matter what, Jack and Lilly are the premise and the focus of the situation. And it's a fine line even talking about the case in a way that isn't exploitative in the first place. What makes this so goddamn interesting is the fact that there is blatant lies in front of us. And we all can see it. And no matter what, that directs the suspicion towards Daniel. You know, the guy who's not a suspect anymore because the cops don't call him like they used to. What a fucking guy. Tweaker logic. Layla, they shouldn't have interviewed Daniel and Durwood either. Just gives wrong people attention, making them famous. It's disgusting. Well, I mean, it's difficult. It's tough. Like in the beginning, when you're thirsty for information, you sometimes walk into something and it's not really your fault. But when you continuously try to engage the person at a certain point in time and he's looking so poorly and bad, and you continue to do it, then it says probably a lot more about your intent. But I still try not to hold it against certain people. I just like to complain about it. Gives us something to complain about. All right, guys, I'm going to log off and I'm going to be back tomorrow, Monday morning. We'll pick up the conversation then. Go over to Justin's and complain to him for a while. I think he's alive and talking about this particular case. I do appreciate the conversations today, friends. Come on back tomorrow and we'll talk it out in the live chat. We'll complain a little bit more, see how things go. In the meantime, peace.